The biggest lie they ever told you is that your body needs something external to heal what you're about to hear. For centuries, it was silenced because it wasn't convenient for you to know. It's not taught in universities, it's not shared in hospitals, and much less will you hear it from a pharmaceutical company. Why? Because a humanity that knows how to heal itself is not a business. The true forbidden secret is this: the mind can heal the body, and it has done so thousands of times, long before pills, surgeries, or laboratories existed. Every thought is a chemical, every emotion is a command, every belief is a program that rewrites your cells. Bruce Lipton demonstrated it with biology. Your genes are not destiny, they are switches that respond to your perception. Louise Hay shouted it to the world: unexpressed emotions end up making the body sick, and Joe Dispenza documented it. People who had no way out according to medicine recovered their lives by awakening a different mental state. And yet, this knowledge was always persecuted, burned, called charlatanism. Because if you discover that your mind is your best medicine, you stop depending on a system that profits from your illness. This book is not theory, it's a map. Each chapter will show you a key, a concrete way to activate that force in you. And I'll do it with real stories, ordinary people who by awakening this power did the impossible. When you finish, you won't look at your body again as a broken machine, but as a temple that was always waiting for the mind to speak to it in the correct language. Prepare yourself, because what's about to begin is not an audiobook. It's a forbidden act of freedom, the awakening of your power of healing with the mind. Chapter 1. The secret language between mind and body. Your body doesn't speak Spanish, English, or French. Your body speaks in sensations, in symptoms, in invisible pulses that many call disease, but that in reality are messages. Think about this. When you're afraid, your heart beats faster. When you're embarrassed, your skin turns red. When you cry with joy, your body releases hormones that change your chemistry. What does this tell you? That your body is obeying what your mind orders it in silence. Traditional medicine studies the body as if it were a machine, but the error is believing that only physical parts matter. What really moves it is the constant conversation with the mind. A Canadian doctor, Gabor Mate, discovered something shocking. Many cancer patients had lived years silencing emotions, repressing anger or sadness. The body, not finding an outlet in words, transformed those emotions into symptoms. It was its way of speaking. And you don't have to go to a hospital to see it. Look at someone who always lives under stress. First, they have gastritis, then back pain, then insomnia. It's not bad luck, it's their body saying, I can no longer sustain this anxious mind. What's forbidden here is that no one taught you to listen to this language. Because if you learn it, you stop being a victim of your symptoms and begin to use them as a compass. I remember the case of a woman who arrived convinced she had a serious illness because she felt a lump in her throat for months. Medical tests were perfect. Nothing physical. What did we discover? That she had spent years without crying over her mother's death. Every time she wanted to express it, she swallowed her tears. The body was only asking permission to release. When she finally did, the lump disappeared. Your body doesn't punish you. Your body translates what your mind silences. The teaching is clear. Every symptom is a word. Every pain is a warning. Every illness is a pending conversation. Today, I invite you to stop. If something hurts or bothers you, don't see it as an enemy. Ask it, what part of me are you trying to awaken? You won't always hear the answer in the mind. Sometimes it will be in a memory, in an emotion, in a dream. But if you pay attention, you'll see that the body never lies. Because the first step in healing with the mind is not fighting against your body, it's reconciling with it, understanding that it's not broken, it's speaking, and you're learning to listen. In the next chapter, you'll discover why modern science and ancestral traditions agree on something surprising. Imagination is not fantasy, it's medicine. And how can you use mental images to activate the biology of healing? Chapter 2. The healing power of imagination. They made us believe that imagination was a child's game, an escape from reality. But the forbidden truth is that imagination is the most direct language to speak with the body. Science has proven it again and again. The brain doesn't distinguish between what you imagine strongly and what really occurs. When an athlete visualizes a race, the same areas of their brain and muscles activate as if they were really running. When you imagine a cut lemon, your mouth produces saliva, even though there's no lemon in front of you. What does this tell us? That imagination has measurable physical effects on your body. Joe Dispenza relates an amazing experiment. One group of people practiced playing the piano physically for weeks, and another group only imagined it in detail without moving a finger. The result, both groups showed the same changes in the brain, as if the mind had trained the body just by imagining. If that happens with learning, what happens when we apply it to healing? I remember the case of a man who had suffered an accident and was left with constant pain in his leg. Medicine offered him only medications to calm the pain, but he began a daily ritual. He closed his eyes and imagined his leg shining, each cell repairing itself as if they were workers rebuilding a building. At first, it seemed like a game, but within a few weeks the pain began to reduce, and after months he could walk distances that were previously impossible. His body responded to the script that the mind showed it every day. Ancient traditions knew it. In India, they moved prana with visualization. Shamans imagined serpents, birds, or fire traveling through the body as symbols of healing. And in the Bible, it was already said, "According to what you believe in your heart, so it shall be." Believing wasn't a blind act, it was imagining with conviction. The teaching is clear. Your imagination is not fantasy, it's the screen where you project what your body then obeys. Today, I invite you to try it. Close your eyes for a moment, breathe deeply, and take your attention to a place in your body you want to heal. Imagine that a warm, soft light enters there, that cleans, that orders, that repairs. Don't do it with effort, do it with emotion. Feel as if it were already happening. Repeat this every day. Even if you doubt it first, even if your rational mind criticizes, your body is already receiving the signal. Because the body doesn't only heal with medications, it heals with images, with symbols, with emotions that activate invisible processes. Imagination is not escape, it's medicine. In the next chapter, you're going to discover something even more powerful, emotion as a biological key. Because it's not enough to imagine, you need to feel it in your heart so the mind translates it into real healing. Chapter 3. Emotion as medicine. Science has already confirmed it. What you feel is imprinted on your body. It's not a metaphor, it's pure biology. Every emotion generates a chemical cascade. Anger elevates adrenaline. Guilt triggers cortisol. Sustained sadness weakens the immune system. But the opposite also happens. Gratitude regulates your heart. Joy releases endorphins. Deep peace lowers inflammation. Look at this real case. For years, recent widows and widowers were studied, and the results were shocking. In the first months after losing their partner, the risk of suffering a heart attack or cardiac problem multiplied several times. Why? It wasn't just emotional sadness, it was biology. Deep grief triggered stress hormones, increased blood pressure, altered blood coagulation. The body literally responded to the pain of the soul. But the opposite also occurs. Research from Harvard University showed that practicing conscious gratitude for just 3 minutes a day not only improves mood, but changes heart rhythm, strengthens immunity, and reduces inflammation markers in the blood. That is, what you feel doesn't stay in your head. What you feel molds your biology. Every thought charged with emotion is a command to the body. And here's the practical teaching. Emotion is medicine when it moves, when you let it out, when you cry what hurts, when you express a boundary, when you thank from the heart instead of doing it automatically, your body responds. Do the test. The next time you feel anxiety in your chest, put your hand there. Breathe 3 times and say quietly, "This is just an emotion. It's not me, and I can let it go." Wait and observe how the tension goes down. Because what is not expressed is imprinted, but what is felt and released is transformed. In the next chapter, you'll discover something even more powerful, how your beliefs can turn genes on or off, and why epigenetics demonstrates that your DNA is not your destiny. Chapter 4. Quantum Healing, the Field of Possibilities. For centuries, they made us believe that the body is only matter, a set of organs, muscles, and bones that deteriorate over time. But modern physics revealed something that changes everything. Behind every cell, behind every atom, there's a field of energy and information, an invisible ocean that connects everything with everything. Deepak Chopra called it the field of pure potential. Joe Dispenza describes it as the quantum space where all possibilities exist at the same time, and the most surprising thing is that your mind can influence that field. It sounds impossible. Listen to this. In the famous double-slit experiment, quantum physics demonstrated that a particle behaves as a wave or as a particle, depending on whether it's observed or not. In other words, the intention of the observer alters the result. Consciousness participates in the creation of reality. Joe Dispenza took it to practice after an accident that left him almost paralyzed. Doctors told him he would never walk again. He decided something radical. Every day he spent hours visualizing his spine, vertebra by vertebra, rebuilding itself in perfect health for weeks, until one day he managed to stand up and walked again. It wasn't magic. It was mind-focused on the field of possibilities. It was sustained intention that gave a new order to biology. And there's more proof. In hospitals in the United States, studies were done with patients who practiced meditation focused on healing. The result was that their pain levels decreased, their recovery was faster, and even measurable changes were observed in their immune system, all documented. The lesson is clear. The body is matter, yes, but matter obeys the field, and the field responds to the mind. If you want to try it in your life, start with something simple. Every morning sit in silence and visualize not what you fear, but what you want to experience. Don't do it as if you were imagining it out there. Feel it as real here and now. Imagine the emotion of being healthy, of being calm, of being complete, and stay in that state for a few minutes. The key is not repeating empty phrases. The key is generating the real emotion, because the field doesn't respond to words, it responds to vibration. That is quantum healing, not fighting against the symptom, but connecting with the possibility where the symptom no longer exists. In the next chapter, we'll enter equally deep terrain, the symbolic mind. Carl Jung discovered that what we hide in our unconscious, what we deny about ourselves, can become illness and can also free us if we learn to integrate it. Chapter 5. The Symbolic Mind. Carl Jung warned it more than about a century ago. What you deny subdues you. What you accept transforms you. The human mind doesn't only think with words, it also thinks with symbols, images, and archetypes. And what you don't recognize within yourself doesn't disappear. It hides, and many times it makes you sick. Jung called it the shadow. It's that part of you that holds what you reject. The anger you didn't express, the sadness you hid, the desires you repressed because they weren't correct. All of that remains alive in the unconscious, and sooner or later seeks an outlet. And here's the key. The body is many times that outlet. A symptom can be a symbol, a way in which your unconscious screams what your mouth silences. Clear examples abound. A study published in Psychosomatic Medicine showed that people who constantly repress their anger have a higher risk of hypertension and heart disease. The unspoken emotion becomes internal pressure that literally elevates blood pressure. Another example, Jung related the case of a patient who suffered intense stomach pains after years of medical tests without explanation. In therapy, a memory emerged of years living under harsh criticism from her father. She said, "I just can't digest what he tells me." The body was speaking with metaphor, and when she could recognize and work through that shadow, the symptoms diminished. Contemporary psychologist James Pennebaker did a simple but revealing experiment. He asked groups of people to write for 15 minutes a day about a kept secret or hidden trauma. The result, those who wrote had fewer medical visits in the following months and improved their immunological markers. The simple act of giving words to the repressed freed the body. The teaching is powerful. Your unconscious doesn't forget. What you don't recognize with the mind, you represent with the body. That's why healing isn't always about adding something new. Many times it's about looking inward and asking, what part of me am I denying? What shadow don't I want to accept? If you feel a repetitive symptom, you can do this exercise. Sit in silence. Ask that part of your body, if you were a metaphor, what would you be trying to tell me? And then write the first thing that emerges. It doesn't matter if it seems weird or exaggerated. Many times the unconscious speaks in symbols. And if you listen carefully, you'll discover the hidden message. The symbolic mind is not a distant mystery. It's a language you use every day in your dreams, in your intuitions, in your symptoms. And when you learn to read it, you don't only understand your body, you understand your soul. In the next chapter, we'll continue on this bridge between mind and body with the teachings of Gabor Mate, and we'll discover how illness can be a no that you didn't dare to say with words, but that your body said in your place. Chapter 6. The Secret Language of the Body. Your body never lies, even though your mouth stays silent, even though your mind ignores, even though your environment doesn't want to listen. The body always speaks, and when you can't say no with your voice, many times your body says it in the form of illness. Dr. Gabor Mate, in his book, When the Body Says No, shows it clearly. People who grew up believing they had no right to set boundaries, who learned to always please, to silence their rage, to carry other people's guilt, they develop autoimmune diseases, cancer, and chronic disorders more frequently. A real example, in studies with multiple sclerosis patients, a repeated pattern was found: difficulty expressing anger and the tendency to be too good, too responsible, too available for everyone except for themselves. The body ended up screaming what the person never dared to scream. Another documented case: nurses who spent years caring for others without rest, with shifts of silent stress, presented higher rates of hypertension and immune problems, not because they didn't know about health, but because their body could no longer bear living. Without saying enough, this doesn't mean every illness is due to emotions or that it's the person's fault. It doesn't mean that biology responds to the emotional environment, and that when you don't take care of yourself, when you repress what you feel, your body takes the word. The key is in recognizing the signals before they scream. Back pain that always appears with the same person. Stomach that gets irritated every time you swallow an unfair situation. Throat that closes when you silence something important. Those are not coincidences, they are messages. The practical teaching is simple, but transformative. Be silent and listen. Every tension is a warning. Every symptom is a phrase that your mind couldn't articulate. You can do a simple exercise. When a repetitive pain appears, don't first run to turn it off. Sit and ask yourself, what am I trying to carry that I can no longer? What would I have to say that I still don't say? Many times the answer emerges as an image, memory, or emotion, and by recognizing it, you already initiate a release process. Your body is not your enemy, it's your messenger. And if you learn to read it, it will stop punishing you and start guiding you. In the next chapter, we'll see one of the most powerful invisible medicines, forgiveness, not as a moral act, but as a vibrational alchemy that frees your energy and returns strength to the body. Chapter 7. Forgiveness as invisible medicine. They taught us to see forgiveness as a moral act, as a religious duty, as a show of goodness toward others, but the truth is much deeper. Forgiveness is medicine, an invisible medicine that not only frees the mind, it also transforms the body. When you hold resentment, your nervous system stays on alert. Your body interprets that wound as a constant threat. Cortisol and adrenaline stay high. Your blood pressure rises, your sleep is altered, your immune system weakens. In other words, rancor poisons more the one who holds it than the one who provoked it. And here comes the proof. In a study conducted at Stanford University, people who participated in forgiveness programs showed significant reduction in blood pressure, fewer symptoms of anxiety and depression, and improvements in general physical health. The released emotion reorganized biology. Another documented case. At the Mayo Clinic, it was discovered that people who described their life as more forgiving had fewer cardiovascular problems. Not by coincidence, but because the body lived in a state of lower chronic tension. This doesn't mean justifying what happened or denying the pain. It means releasing the energetic anchor that keeps your body trapped in the past. Because every time you remember with resentment, you relive the wound, and your biology suffers it again. Forgiveness is not for the other, it's for you. It's your invisible medicine. Do an exercise. Think of someone or a situation that still hurts you. Close your eyes. Put your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and say, quietly, I choose to release this energy. Not for you, for me. You don't need to reconcile or justify anything. Just free your energy. You may not feel it at first, but repeat it because the body listens. And little by little, you'll notice that something loosens, that you breathe deeper, that you sleep better, that the weight is no longer so present. Forgiveness is alchemy. It transforms poison into medicine, rage into peace, tension into coherence. In the next chapter, we'll see how that coherence is not just a feeling, but a real vibration, because everything in the universe, including your body, responds to rhythm, number, and harmony, a truth that Pythagoras already taught thousands of years ago. Chapter 8. The vibration that reorganizes the field. For thousands of years, the wise repeated the same idea. Everything is vibration, everything is rhythm, everything is number. Pythagoras affirmed that the entire universe could be understood as music, that every body, every planet, every soul has a frequency that sustains it. Modern science is beginning to confirm what seemed like ancient philosophy. The physicist Max Planck, father of quantum theory, said that matter is not the definitive real, that the real is an invisible vibratory field that gives form to the visible. And if everything is vibration, then illness is not just a biological failure, it's a disharmony, an out-of-tune instrument within the orchestra of your body. That's why therapies with sound and vibration work not because music is magical, but because it reorganizes the field in hospitals in the United States and Europe. Music therapy is already used in patients with cancer, Parkinson's, and dementia. It has been seen that listening to certain rhythms reduces pain, improves memory, and lowers blood pressure. A powerful example at the University of Helsinki. Patients with Alzheimer's who participated in group singing sessions improved their ability to remember words and regulate emotions. Although the EBOT disease was still there, the vibration activated dormant areas of the brain. Another study conducted at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York showed that patients who received live music sessions before surgeries reported less anxiety and needed less medication. The sound was reordering not only the mind, but also biology. Your body also responds this way. Think about what happens when you listen to a song you loved in your adolescence. Suddenly, your breathing changes, your heart beats differently, your internal state transforms. It wasn't a rational thought, it was pure vibration. The inner sorcerer, the healer hidden in you, knows it can use this principle. When you sing, when you meditate with a mantra, when you breathe rhythmically, you're not doing a symbolic act, you're tuning your field. Do the test, place your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and emit a long sound. It doesn't matter which. Let your voice resonate. Observe how your body responds, how something is ordered, as if the internal noise found a center. Vibration is medicine because it reminds the body what it forgot. It returns it to harmony. In the next chapter, we'll see that beyond sound, beyond technique, there exists a state capable of healing on its own. Extreme presence, full attention that converts a single second into a field of transformation. Chapter 9. Presence as Cure. In a world full of noise, we believe that healing always requires something external. Medicines, techniques, complex rituals. But the truth is simpler and at the same time more difficult. Healing begins with being present. The modern mind lives trapped in two ghosts, the past that hurts and the future that scares. And in that endless back and forth, the body never rests. The nervous system lives on alert, stress hormones are triggered, inflammation accumulates, and illness finds fertile ground. Jon Kabat-Zinn, doctor and pioneer of mindfulness in hospitals in the United States, demonstrated it in practice. He created a program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, applied to thousands of patients with chronic pain and anxiety, and the results were surprising. Less pain, less need for medication, better quality of life. All of that without new surgeries, without secret drugs, only with presence, only with learning to be here and now. Another study at the University of Massachusetts showed that patients with psoriasis who listened to guided meditations during ultraviolet light sessions healed 4 times faster than those who only received the light. The difference wasn't the medical treatment, it was the presence of the mind accompanying the body. And the ancient traditions already knew this. Buddha taught that the root of suffering is distraction, lack of awareness. Jesus said, "Do not be anxious about tomorrow." Both pointed to the same thing, to a state where the only real thing is this instant. And in this instant, the soul is ordered. Presence heals because it turns off the storm. Because the body cannot regenerate when it's in internal war. It needs silence. It needs a clean field. Do the exercise now. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and put your attention on a single sensation, the air entering through your nose, nothing more, for 60 seconds. What seems insignificant is the most powerful practice, because for a minute, your mind stops dispersing and your body receives the order to heal. 1 second of presence is worth more than 1,000 hours of worry, because worry never healed anyone, but full attention reorganizes the entire system. In the next chapter, we'll reach the closing, the forbidden formula of self-healing, a synthesis of everything learned. Belief, emotion, vibration, word, and presence, united in a single practice to awaken the healing mind. Chapter 10. The forbidden formula of self-healing. What you're about to hear is the synthesis of this entire journey, and although it sounds simple, it's not, because the simple is what holds the most power. Pharmaceutical companies, control systems always wanted to convince you otherwise, that healing depends on them, on their pills, on their machines, on their permission. Because if you knew what your mind and your spirit can do, their business would collapse. But the truth is in front of you. Healing is not a mystery, it's a formula. A forbidden formula because it gives you back power. And here it is. Belief. Nothing begins if you don't believe it's possible. The placebo has demonstrated it thousands of times. Faith moves cells, moves entire systems. When your belief changes, your biology obeys. Emotion. The mind alone doesn't cure. It needs the fire of the heart. Greg Braden showed it with experiments in hospitals in China. 3 doctors healed a tumor in minutes, only repeating a collective emotion of certainty. It wasn't cold thought, it was burning emotion, vibration. Pythagoras taught it. Everything is number, rhythm, frequency. Your body too. And when your frequency is altered, and by fear, anger, or guilt, illness enters when you elevate it with gratitude, silence, and love. Energy is ordered. Word. What you name becomes seed. Carolyn Myss called them sacred contracts. Every word you pronounce is a decree to the universe. If you say, "I'm broken," your body listens. If you say, "I'm in the process of healing," your field opens to that possibility. Presence, the key that sustains all the others, because without being here now, the mind disperses and energy leaks. John Kabat-Zinn showed it. Pain diminishes when consciousness observes it without fear. Presence turns off the fire of suffering and activates regeneration. 5 keys, 5 forces, but together they are the forbidden formula of self-healing. Now imagine your life applying them. You believe in your power instead of surrendering it. You feel with elevated emotion instead of fear. You vibrate in harmony instead of chaos. You decree with words that open paths, and you sustain presence instead of distraction. That is not a distant ideal. It's a state you can enter every day with a gesture, with a breath, with a decision. Self-healing doesn't mean you'll never get sick. It means you'll never feel like a victim again. Because you'll know that within you there's always a code capable of transforming your experience. Now keep this as a treasure, because what you just heard is something they tried to hide for centuries. They burned it, they censored it, they called it superstition, but it survived, and today it reached you. The decision is in your hands. Will you continue surrendering your power to the external? Or are you going to use the forbidden formula to awaken the healing mind that was always in you? Remember, your mind is not broken, it's awake, and now you know it. Before closing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and explore the other audiobooks. If this resonated with you, you'll discover that each work is another key. The Path of the Sorcerer, The Rich Sorcerer, The 9 Pillars of the indestructible soul. Each one opens a different door, but they all lead to the same place, your inner power. And remember, the forbidden, what they tried to hide, was always the most valuable. If this audiobook awakens something in you, subscribe to this channel, activate the notification bell, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling us what you discovered about yourself, and join us on the next journey. The power of healing was always within you, and now you know how to access it. See you in the next audiobook.